Hello, my name is Matt McCullough, and I'm a Program Officer for Direct Relief International. I'm standing here today in Direct Relief's warehouse in Santa Barbara, California. Direct Relief is an organization that provides aid to more than 40 million people in more than 70 countries around the world, and we've been doing so since 1948. And we're known as one of the most efficient and cost-effective aid agencies in the world. Our work brings together many remarkable people whose spirit of innovation matches their sense of dedication. Over the course of the next few weeks, I hope to tell you some amazing stories and introduce you to some fascinating and effective human beings. Let's begin our series with Curt and Cathy Bradner, who are helping to bring safe drinking water to millions of people. The Bradners, while raising their daughters, also ran a successful engineering, design, and manufacturing business in Colorado. When their daughters reached college, Curt and Cathy decided to follow their own dream. They took off on a tandem bicycle and pedaled through 24 countries, all the way from Spain to Thailand.
So Cathy's background, actually, was in business. And ultimately, we combined my passion for research and development and developing products and her ability to actually understand how to make money into a thing called A1 Tool. And so we started a research and development business in Colorado and successfully developed and marketed a lot of products for a lot of different companies. They were fiber optics, they were bicycles, basically anything that didn't blow people up or kill people was fair game for us.
We had a part on a shuttle and in 2 Olympics and, and then various other applications.
Yeah.
And how long did that company
We had
run
that
for?
company for 10 years. And then our children went off to university. And Cathy and I had kind of always had this goal that once our kids were out of the house, we'd ride our bike around the world, or more or less. We would just, we ride a tandem bike. It was a passion. And so it was kind of a dare, like, okay, the kids are out of the house now.
It's time.
Should we really do this? And we made a deal that if we could sell the house and the business, that we would try and ride our bike more or less around the world. So Cathy and I literally got rid of everything that we owned. I mean, you accumulate a ton of stuff when you're raising 2 kids. And we threw the tandem on a plane and landed in Madrid after 8 months of constant bike touring through probably about 24 countries. By that point, we ended up in Mae Sot, Thailand, which is where the story really begins as to how ThirstAid was born.
Curt and Cathy learned that endless travel is just that, endless travel, and they felt like they wanted to give back. When they reached Mae Sot, Thailand, the Bradners found a tiny medical clinic that served a vast refugee camp.
When Curt and I got there, there were a broken down house and 2 grass huts.
And a barn.
And a barn.
The barn was like birthing unit and intensive care and very dark, very bad.
About 100 child medics, I call them. They were Korean kids that American and European doctors taught how to do basic medicine. They were mostly, 18 to 24-year-olds doing amazing work. I mean, amputations and delivery. And in all of that chaos, there were these 42 orphans. So we started a bike camp, basically. And the kids were so excited that they slept with them. And then if they broke, they wouldn't tell us because they thought we'd be angry. So then we taught them how to fix the bikes and become bike doctors. And we had bike rodeos on the hospital grounds.
The bicycle program had been very successful. It's hard to imagine, but so many of these kids had hardly ever taken the lid off a jar. So learning how to use a tool was just something they loved. And it was so exciting to watch them develop those skills and really be able to rebuild a hub on a wheel and take a chain off, put a chain on, all of that stuff, that we realized there was a great need for vocational training. And so we started, again, a very humble little vocational training program in Umpiumai refugee camp. And we taught carpentry, bicycle repair, pottery, because we were up there in the rainy season and I had slid down a muddy hill into someone's hut. And Cathy just looked at the mud and said, there's got to be something we can do with this clay.
And so Curt and I volunteered for a month and stayed 5 years.
From bike camp, the Bradners progressed to art classes for the kids, and then computer training to give young people marketable skills, until they hit upon the idea of ceramic water filters, fired from the local clay, because one of the greatest health destroyers in the world, as well as in Mae Sot, Thailand, is poor drinking water.
So I had the first mold hand-carved out of teak wood by a Burmese carver. Wow. We put clay inside this wood mold, and then 4 of us stood on top of it and jumped up and down and pressed our very first water filter, and it worked. And so we went, okay, now let's step it up just a little bit. And I built a steel frame for the wood mold and mounted it with a 5-ton hydraulic car jack underneath it, and it made everything so much easier. But anyways, within 3 months, we had everyone trained, and they were producing ceramic water filters, and we had them tested at the Thai laboratories to make sure that they were removing bacteria. And it was all looking pretty good when the tsunami hit southern Thailand. And all of a sudden, it didn't matter whether these things were 100% effective or not. They needed water treatment, and they needed it fast. So we doubled the crew, we built another machine, and we started cranking out ceramic water filters, shipping them 2,000 kilometers down to the south of Thailand in early recovery stages for the tsunami, and they were a fantastic hit.
The Bradners were thrilled with the success of the water filters, but it was never their intention to create jobs or a business for themselves. Their idea was to create real jobs and to help local entrepreneurs start businesses for themselves. The goal was to create an industry that could last long after the Bradners had gone.
So when we start a factory, you can't just start a factory with a bunch of migrant labor. You have to teach them business skills. You have to teach them how to keep an inventory, how to ship, how to pack, how to do quality control, all of those skills. So it's not just here, press this handle all day long. Mm-hmm. We brought in computers, we brought in teachers, we brought in business people, so they knew every skill, and they learned how to do all that. Then you can't just hand people a water filter. Here's a clay pot, make fresh water. No, you have to have an education team. So then we brought in educators, and we created an education template to go with the water filters, and we went in and we trained everyone how to use them, and we just kept getting better and better at training also, because frankly a water filter that without any training really ends up a flower pot.
Having established the ceramic water filter factories in Thailand and Myanmar, Curt and Cathy began looking at other approaches to purifying water, because with 15 million people in need, you may need more than one system. Recognizing the scope of the clean water drinking problem in Myanmar, Curt and Cathy decided first to study the problem carefully.
Water resources in Myanmar are abundant. There's a lot of water in Myanmar. There are certain zones they call the dry zone that water maybe is a little scarce, but people have learned how to manage their water resources in Myanmar pretty well over the years. During the rainy season, they collect rainwater. It's almost universal. People prefer rainwater. It's got a special name in the Myanmar language because it's the most natural water you can drink. So they actually look forward to rainy season so that they can start collecting rainwater and drinking it. But when the rains stop, most houses don't have an independent water source. So they go to ponds, rivers, lakes, streams, collect water, bring it back to their house and store it. There's been an industry that's evolved over hundreds of years of water vendors who will go down to the river with something on wheels, fill anything, any convenient water holding device, put it on a cart and wheel it up to the houses and sell it. And these guys make a very meager income, maybe $1 a day doing this, but it's an income. Cathy and I started looking at that and going, wait a minute, they're going down and they're collecting dirty water and they're delivering dirty water, and there's about 20 minutes in between. Isn't there some opportunity for us to purify the water en route? And that was when I got a hold of you and said, Matt, I got this great idea. You know, I want these water vendors to be, you know, purveyors of purified water. And I think I can do it. I think I can put something together that'll work. And Direct Relief gave us a small grant, and we went back to Myanmar all excited and started pursuing that. We've designed the carts so that they're using a easy-to-clean plastic 50-gallon drum rather than old pesticide containers and, you know, any rusty tin that they can fit on a cart. And if we can teach the water vendors how to purify their own water, my God, with a brush stroke, we can bring safe water to millions of people, literally. And so we started looking at ways. I took the money Direct Relief gave me, and I designed a lot of different water carts with, you know, various forms of filtration. I used chlorine, which worked fantastically, but I could not get the chlorine taste out of the water. And ultimately, efficiently, yes, I could get it, but not efficiently and cost effectively. And ultimately, I found that even if I offered people in the village the chlorinated water for free, they wouldn't take it. They would rather pay a little bit of money and buy the contaminated water. And finally settled on using hydrogen peroxide. And it works very, very much like chlorine, only there's no aftertaste. The beautiful part is that the pilot programs that we've run, we've put the education component into it. The water vendors have to attend classes before they can become an H2O2 water vendor. When they go door to door, before they deliver the purified water, they usually go with a ThirstAid rep, and we talk to each of their customers on their route and explain to them that they're going to have an option. They can buy purified water. It's going to be of much better quality, much safer quality, much better for their children, much healthier for them. They won't lose days of work because they've got diarrheal illness. And again, much like the ceramic water filter, each household gets a pamphlet to read about H2O2, and the brochure shows 4 different ways to treat your water at your house. It shows boiling, it shows dilute chlorine, it shows our ceramic water filter, and it shows hydrogen peroxide. And part of the education that the water vendors give every single household is there's a lot of different ways to purify your water. You should be using one of them. Then the water vendor will go back at the next delivery and ask them 5 questions off of that brochure about water purification. If they can answer 3, that delivery is free. Okay, so we again try to include education as part of the whole water vendor process.
But as with so many good ideas, implementing innovation turns out to be pretty complicated in an old existing culture.
One of the most significant things that we've done is given the water vendors the opportunity to buy the cart on a lease-to-own basis. One of the hurdles that we ran into is that water cart rental is a business in itself. And so typically a water vendor would always be in debt, always be renting the cart, never get ahead. And now he's going to own this cart in 1 to 1.5 years, and the $1 a day he was spending to rent it is going to go in his pocket instead of the rich guy that was renting him the carts before. And that's an important part of the program.
Now that the ceramic water filters and the H2O2 vendors are providing access to clean water, the Bradners still know that education is an important part of the project.
People want to be healthy. And so when you educate them and you let them know that actually the reason some of your children are dying is just because your water's contaminated, and we can teach you how to purify it. So education is the best form of household water treatment, period, hands down. More money needs to be spent on it. And that's the true solution. So sometimes I think maybe hydrogen peroxide, water carts, ceramic water filters are just an entry point to introduce better education. And I think that's what ThirstAid's primary focus ultimately always is.
In the weeks to come, we'll have more stories and more caring individuals who work with Direct Relief International to help more than 40 million people around the world. Thank you for watching.